Hello and welcome to Beyond Four Walls, the show that dives into the world of property management and explores the challenges faced by block managers and into the stories of remarkable individuals who overcome life's challenges and emerge stronger than ever. I'm your host, Jodie Fraser, and today we have the privilege of sitting down with a truly inspiring and empowering woman, Taz Thornton. Taz is not just an ordinary guest, she's a force to be reckoned with. An accomplished author, motivational speaker and coach, Taz has navigated the crazy waters of life, facing everything from career highs to the depths of bullying. Taz's story is one of resilience, courage and the unwavering belief in the power of a positive mindset, and in the world of block management, a positive mindset is something that we need to master every day. Welcome Taz, thank you for being here.
Hi Jodie, thank you so much for inviting me.
Can you share with me a little bit about your personal journey and how that has shaped your career path?
Crikey, how long have we got?
Oh, as long as you want.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I know you want to highlight some of the bullying aspects, and there's so much more to it than that, but in a real nutshell, I went through bullying at school, I went through bullying in a relationship in the form of domestic abuse, I went through bullying at work, and through all of that I hit some real lows before I'd mastered the art of self-belief. I say mastered the art, you know, we all sometimes have days where self-belief drops, including me, but in the darkest times, through that, particularly through domestic abuse, where I didn't know how to get out, who to turn to, how to even explain what I was going through, I tried to check out of life on more than one occasion, ended up breaking my back in 3 places in the process, and really rebuilt from there. And it was only lying on a hospital bed with my head packed in sandbags, and I'd been lying on that flat bed for 9 hours with nobody telling me what was going on before they told me that I'd broken my back. And it was in that moment where my hopelessness switched into hope, because I had this awful realisation that being paralysed and helpless was a fate worse than death. So in that moment I flipped things and started saying, instead of please let me die, please let me walk, please let me walk, please let me walk. And I was so lucky. I walked away from that. Long story short, there were still lots of rocky times after that, and I certainly wasn't suddenly cured and healed and a bright shining star in the immediate aftermath, but that was the beginning of me turning things around. It was a long story. I had to go into hiding, there were threats involved, there were guns involved, but I'm now really thankful for all of those bullying episodes, because through those I grew, through those I learned about the power of resistance, I learned about my soul mission, and if I hadn't been through those tough times, I wouldn't have the same level of relatability and the ability to understand what others are going through, which I truly believe helps me to support them at a deeper level.
Bullying is a topic that I speak openly about quite often on various platforms, and I think to experience bullying, it's something that never leaves you, no matter how positive you are and how much you've overcome as a bullied child or even a bullied adult. It's really something that stays, it's like in your DNA, and it's really, really difficult to try and get out of that. And I've spoken a lot, certainly recently, about the wellbeing survey that one of our professional bodies has released, and there are a lot of people who are struggling with bullying in the workplace. They're struggling with bullying from leaseholders. They're struggling with understanding how to cope with all of that kind of stuff, and some people have even talked about taking their own life. And I think, you know, how would you as a coach help people in my industry, in the block management industry, where we're all struggling so much, to try and overcome these barriers that we seem to have in our daily lives at the moment?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is take it back a few steps and recognise that bullying takes many forms. I think when we talk about bullying, so many of us automatically default to that place of kind of school ground taunts and sticks and stones may break my bones. Words do hurt. But bullying does take many forms, and it's not just about, you know, the ginger kid being picked on in the playground, the stuff that we grew up with. Bullying can take the form of passive aggression, somebody being cold-shouldered, well, there's narcissistic bullying as well. There are all different forms. If I think about some of the people I've worked with who, for instance, have been through bullying due to their gender identity or sexuality, the bullying can come from sources we wouldn't expect it to. The amount of families who have ended up bullying their loved ones because they don't conform to the norms, in inverted in air quotes, that they want them to conform to. And in the workplace, it's not just about somebody being very obviously picked out. There can be really subtle bullying through communication. Trolling online, another form of bullying.
Yeah.
So I think before we start saying this is how we handle it, we need to look at what form that bullying is taking. Is it actually bullying as well? Because if we're in a place where we are feeling less than confident, it's easy for us to see someone who just has a different opinion to us or disagrees with us, and it's easy to dismiss somebody as a troll, for instance. I know you have experience of that, and it's yours has been absolutely hideous. But I've seen other people say they're being trolled when in fact it's just somebody who's I don't share your opinion. So it's a really complex subject, and I don't think we will ever fully stop the bullying. And I know that's such a massive umbrella term as well, and you know, one man's bullying can be another man's banter.
Absolutely, and especially when you work. You work in a very male-dominated industry. You work with we work with a lot of builders and electricians and plumbers, and it's just banter, love. Actually, that was quite mean what you said.
And I grew up in that environment as well, very male-dominated. Remember, my background is in journalism and old school newsrooms. That stuff is raw because we're dealing with such difficult topics. I think sometimes we develop a really sick and twisted sense of humour to cope, a bit like we have in the emergency services. But again, we have to be aware of that line between one man's banter is another man's bullying, or woman, or anyone anywhere in between. We have to be so careful with that. We have to be careful that we're not dismissing other people's feelings, because to us it's
I didn't mean it.
Yeah. Oh, don't mean. Oh, you're so sensitive. You're taking things to heart too much. And then that can tip into gaslighting as well.
Absolutely.
Wittingly or not.
Yeah, it's so hard. And I think from my perspective of bullying, it was in the school playground, if you like, but from the age of 9 to 15 pretty much. And that obviously affected me terribly with everything that I did then as part of my career. And I, don't get me wrong, I am very sensitive, but I can take it on the chin as well. And, I know the difference between somebody just having a joke and somebody being a little bit passive aggressive or whatever. But I think what we're finding in our industry is the outright abuse, the outright, you're unprofessional, you're this, when actually you've gone over and above and you've done everything you possibly can. You're working within the terms of a lease, and somebody is just shouting at you constantly, and whether that's on email or whether that's on the phone. We have a unreasonable behaviour policy, but you still need to serve your clients. You still need to be professional and act for the leaseholders and act for the people that need it. So I think if you're then experiencing bullying from a leaseholder, I think that the industry needs something. I don't really know what that is, to be honest with you, but I think it needs something where it's not just a well-being, let's work on our mindset type thing. It's a full support network that includes people like yourself who can help coach people through these difficult times.
Yeah, that's very clearly a growing problem in society. We only have to look now at the amount of spaces where there are public-facing people serving the community, where there are now big signs. We see it in the queues, we see it in supermarkets, we see it in doctors' surgeries. So again, yes, we can absolutely give support to the people who have felt they've been on the brunt of that, but we have to go back to what's causing this. And there is a growing unrest, there is a growing dis-ease, there's a growing frustration among people in greater society. And a lot of the time, when these instances of what we might refer to as abuse are happening, the people who are the perpetrators might not even realise that's what they're doing. They are just so frustrated with their own lot that they don't stop to consider the impact of their words, the impact of their energy. We're not taught about these things at school.
No.
I mean, I did a lot of work learning from medicine peoples from very, very old mindset, personal development, tribal people. And we've lost something in the development of our own culture. They had such an emphasis on self-responsibility, on checking to see how we were feeling on a daily basis, on how our soul felt, how our mind felt, whether we were physically feeling okay, was there any dis-ease. And from that place of checking in with the self first, we would be able to catch any of that dis-ease that can fly out as aggression, as frustration, as anger, as abuse, and deal with it before it got to that point.
Mm-hmm.
We have stopped taking self-responsibility, but where that has got warped over time, and particularly with the advent of so much personal development, that's such a movement now, and again,
Yeah.
I think in some ways it's become a little bit warped, in that now so many people have this attitude that how the other person feels is not their responsibility. Does not mean that we should not take responsibility for the harm that we might cause.
Yeah.
And I think the other area where we've got things a little bit twisted is this whole area of intention.
Mm-hmm.
Intention is so important. We have to be aware of our intentions. I wish we were more aware of our intentions. But if we say or do something that inadvertently causes harm, it's too easy for us to just say, well, that wasn't my intention. So we all need to be taking much more responsibility and much more notice of what we are putting out into the world, whichever side of the bullying line we happen to fall upon,
Yeah.
whether purposefully or not. We need to, as a society, get far more in touch with who we are, with how we're feeling, and how we're displaying that into the world. It's not about pushing our anger and frustrations down either. It's about learning to deal with them in a positive way and in a healthy way. I mean, if we get our anger out there, whether you're one of these people who screams into a pillow or punches the mattress, takes a self-defense class or does Tai Chi, great. But in that moment, if we just free our anger and shout at people or shout or scream into the world, that energy doesn't just turn into nice little daisy petals and flutter down. We will all know how it feels to just be caught in the crossfire of somebody who is feeling in an intensely negative state.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who's ever been working in an office and everything's great until somebody walks in with a cloud over their heads, and that infects the entire office as they walk through.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that person is a neghead or a mood hoover or an energy vampire. It means they're going through something, and we have not been conditioned and learned how to protect our own energy in the process.
Yeah.
So we all need to be far more aware. We all need to learn to take far more responsibility, both for the way we take things on board and for what we put out into the world.
You know, it's something that I tend to struggle with, and it probably does all stem back to the bullying side of things. The job that I do, it's my own business. It's something that I've created literally from my kitchen table to, you know, the multi-award winning business that it is today. But at the same time, I do tend to find myself struggling with self-sabotage a lot of the time, because I think that, well, I don't have the confidence to do that, or I don't have the resilience to do that, and I don't have the ability to do that, even though I do have the ability to do that. So I will tell myself what the bullies would have told me, and therefore I'm bullying myself. And I wonder if, you know, the world that we're living in now, not just in my industry, but, you know, there's so much going on in the world. There's so much unrest. There's war. You know, it's horrific. Everyone's struggling financially and that sort of thing. And can you share maybe a specific instance from your life and how you maybe navigated through any self-sabotage that you may have come across?
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many techniques for this. The first element of all of this is checking in to see if something is true. When we make a statement to ourselves, I can't, I'm not, those kinds of statements, first thing we need to do is take a breath, take a step back and ask ourselves, is that true? Where's the evidence for that? There's a technique in NLP and neuro-linguistic programming and in various other elements where we can work with people's mindset and psyche as well. That's essentially called bursting the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say somebody comes in with a belief that everybody at work hates me. You can very gently say, is that true? Yeah, everybody hates me. I know everybody hates me. Well, what about that chap in accounts that's just started, the trainee who's come in? Does he hate you? Well, no, he doesn't really know me. So, what about the sandwich lady that comes round? Does she hate you? Well, no, she doesn't hate me. What about the cleaner? The cleaning team? Did the cleaning team hate you? No. What about your manager's manager? Well, I don't know them. So we've proved everybody doesn't hate us. So the first thing is to burst the bubble.
Right.
And then, who is it that you are finding there's some kind of issue with? And is it that they hate you, or is there something else going on underneath that? You can use that technique with anything, not just bullying. The assumptions we're making, the classic one with a couple. My husband is having an affair. Why? Well, because he doesn't love me anymore. Well, why doesn't he love you anymore? Well, he used to bring me flowers every week, and he stopped bringing me flowers. So that means he's having an affair and he doesn't love you.
Yeah.
But didn't you also get really stressed a few weeks back that now you've got to sort out another flower arrangement, and you were feeling really overwhelmed and stressed, and it was another thing for you to do? You've got to follow the story all the way through, because we naturally tell ourselves stories, and that doesn't negate the way we're feeling, and it doesn't mean they're not necessarily true, but we do need to check in and make sure that the narrative we are giving ourselves is accurate.
Yeah.
So that's step one. Another technique that I've used myself, and I teach others to use, it's so important, is to try and break the mindset of life doing us wrong. Life throws all these awful things at me and it's so unfair. And a simple way to start with that is, instead of asking, why has this happened to me? Simple word change. Why has this happened for me? Okay, this might feel really awful right now, but when I'm through the other side of this, because I will get through the other side of this, how will I have grown from this? What will I have learned through this? What are the coping strategies that I will develop through this? What have I been through in the past that felt unbearable at the time, and yet, hey, look, I'm still here.
Yeah, you got through it.
We have a 100% success rate of surviving really shit days. So look back, where have you survived things in the past?
Yeah.
And what did you learn through those times? These tools, Jodie, are just real basic tip of the iceberg stuff. But we start there. Is it true? Have I survived other difficult things before? How did I do that? And what does this make possible for me? I call it flipping our negatives. We need to learn to flip our negatives. So if I go back to my bullying, we touched on some of this right at the beginning. I'm really glad those things happened, because they gave me a different perspective. They showed me the power of my own resilience. They showed me that even when I hit rock bottom, actually there's a place to go from there. We all fear rock bottom, and yet what I found was that the actual word rock bottom, it's solid. There's nowhere else to go from there. But there is no stronger ground to push back up from. There's a little trampoline at the bottom of rock bottom. We can bounce back.
Yeah.
It's a really solid floor, and it might hurt when we fall onto it, but my goodness, when we've done the work, it's a really strong basis to climb back up from.
Oh, that's a really inspirational thing to say, and I hope that everybody listening to this will take everything that you've said on board. And you do a lot of motivational speaking and helping people to break through their limitations and reach their full potential and that sort of thing. And I love how you can just read a room and help somebody just off the cuff. It's your superpower, and it's amazing what you do. And I'd love to see you in some of the conferences that we have to go to, as the industry conferences and everything that we go to.
Look what you've just done there. There's a case in point.
What's that?
That we have to go to.
Yeah, we do.
Why as an industry you feeling that you have to go to these events instead of thinking, right, what's going to help us?
Yeah.
How do we make these events really inspiring so that we really look forward to going to those events?
Do you know what? We do have to keep our CPD up and all that kind of stuff. And, and don't get me wrong, a lot of them are helpful, and but there's a lot of talk around building safety, and there has been since Grenfell, quite rightly. But a lot of the responsibility post Grenfell appears to be falling on the managing agent, and that puts us in the line of fire. Pardon the pun, not intended, absolutely not. But you know what I mean. It makes us nervous to do our job before we've even set foot in front of the laptop.
And if you're walking into that thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to be fired at me today?
Yeah.
Guess what? You're going to walk into that getting bullets.
Yeah.
Because you'll have started to create the bullets yourself before you've even stepped out of the house.
Absolutely. And a lot of the time we are going into these meetings and we're being asked questions that we don't know the answer to, not through lack of training, not through not understanding the law, but because the law hasn't been explained. It seems to be changing constantly. The Building Safety Act has gone through many different bits and pieces and everything. So we are, as an industry, struggling with that. And a lot of the conferences that we have to go to do focus on trying to provide us with the most up-to-date information that we can have at that time. But you're right, it also needs to focus on empowering us and being able to work on our mindset. And there is always a wellbeing session in all of these conferences, and I'm speaking on one of them in December, and I'm really excited to do that. But it's just a small snippet of the day. Normally at the end of the day.
I mean, we're getting better with the corporate world at large, but even in the world of business, we're growing from well-being being an afterthought into gradually being more mainstream. And it's because initially, of course, that was, oh God, that's something we've got to do. We need to tick that box. And I think it's only since lockdown where the impact on mental and emotional well-being has been far more obvious and has then started to impact the bottom line, that industry, in air quotes again, has started to recognise, actually, this needs not to be an afterthought. This needs to be a forethought, because the more we can look after our people from a purely materialistic point of view, the more our bottom line will grow. The more we'll stop losing time and money through rapid staff turnover. And the happier people are in a workplace, the more people feel listened to, the more they will become good corporate citizens and be able to work more efficiently and happily. The people in your industry or in your, where you work, in your employment, they're your biggest asset. They're the ones that are going to keep the money coming in and the lights on, because they're the ones who are going to go over and above. If you look after them, they're going to look after the business. That's where the change needs to happen. I remember when I was in corporate as laughing about that statement. Oh, well, if our people are our biggest asset, let's sell them. We need to move away from that. And I think it's slowly happening. I think it used to be seen as a bit of a snowflakey, namby-pamby, navel-gazing rubbish.
Just get on with it. We need to get away from that. Stiff upper lip.
The damaging statements we put out there. Stiff upper lip. Just put your big girl pants on, or your big boy pants
on. No. Just get on with it.
No, you can't do that. If somebody is breaking from the inside out, it's your responsibility as an employer, as an industry body, to ensure they're getting the support they need. And no, it does not matter whether the stress is coming from within industry or within their home lives.
Absolutely.
Because while they are working for your organisation or within your profession, you have a duty of care to make sure they're okay, regardless of where you believe or choose to believe that stress comes from. And it might seem unfair, but Yabu sucks. Put your big boy pants on.
It's a big wide world out there. You need to get used to it. Well, actually, no, we don't.
There we go again, I think. Industry events and industry publications, anything to do with industry, needs to become far more chameleonic. We need to learn to change our skins. I don't know what your industry publications are in block management, but in the old world, standard, an industry publication will be something we felt we ought to read, and would turn up in its cellophane wrapper, and there's usually a stack of them gathering dust up a corner that nobody ever opens. They just subscribe because either it's part of membership or they want to be seen to be subscribing. But they are frequently dull as dishwater. That's one of the things I used to do when I was still in publishing, go into industry magazines, B2B magazines, and turn them into something that people actually wanted to read so that readership would grow. And it's the same with industry events. Instead of seeing them as something where we tick all the boxes and sit people down and tell them everything they need to know, we need to flip them into something that people want to engage with. So flip anything to do with industry away from starchy, boring stats and figures into, yes, that bit is a requirement, but how do we create something that is going to genuinely be useful genuinely make people want to engage with it, genuinely create such a vibe that people from outside of your profession are going, how do I come to that event?
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
That's how we really give back. That's how we really build cohesion. That's how we get rid of competition mindset and into inclusivity, where we are genuinely all supporting each other. We can genuinely start to find a way through all of these challenges together and build something incredible.
So are there any specific messages that you hope to focus on in your 2024 plans?
Well, yes, we're building lots of amazing plans at the moment. I'm currently working on a program that will launch probably in January. It's all about smashing your cash for 2024 and getting past some of the money mindset blocks we all have. I'm going to be doing a lot more well-being work as we head into next month. I'm putting myself through an intensive week-long training retreat to bolster some of my own skills to help other people with.
Amazing.
So that's going to be really brilliant. That's some kind of mindset and wellness techniques from the inside out, working with full body and mind awareness. So I'll be bringing those out. I'm launching some new coaching programs. My Heart of Speaking speaker training retreat is coming back for next year as well. There's so much stuff that I'm so excited about for the new year. But through all of it, my message is the hashtag I always use, the unleash your awesome. And that comes from knowing that every one of us has this deep well of untapped potential, of awesome potential. And it's there, but very often we lose sight of it and we don't know how to access it, we don't know how to bring that through. And that's what we need to do a lot more of, whether you're in business, whether you are an individual who needs to build confidence, it all comes back to that. So I will hopefully be showing up more in 2024 with my speaking as well. Industry bods, if you're listening to this, bring me to your conferences.
Oh, absolutely! I'll be recommending you.
let's shake things up and make things better for everybody. Whether you are someone who is struggling with confidence, mindset, ability, being able to push yourself forwards, not being able to see your limitations. You know, when somebody comes to me for coaching to grow themselves and their business, they'll come to me saying, I want to get here. What they can't see yet is beyond that point. They think that's the pinnacle of their potential. And I know there is more, but you can't see it until you get there.
Yeah.
Beautiful people, that is just the beginning. Right now.
Yeah.
There is so much more. That's what I want to be unlocking for people in 2024 and beyond. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And you're amazing coach as well to me. Thank you for being with us today, or being with me today, I should say. How can everyone find you?
Oh, I am ubiquitous. You'll find me everywhere on Google, and you'll find me. You'll find me on most of the social media channels, and I promise if you send me a message anywhere, I read all of them. Sometimes my team will respond. I can't always get to all of them straight away, but I do read everything that you all send to me. So if I can help in any way, get in touch. And please, 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 if you're out there and struggling and know that you need some support and you're feeling that you cannot financially justify it because of the current climate, message me anyway. Because there's always a way for me to help you in some way, whether that's me steering you to free or low-cost resources, sending you links to some of my books, or sending you some videos or content I've done in the past. There's always a way for you to get a good Tazing, regardless of where your budget is right now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Taz. I really appreciate what you've said today and making the time to speak to me. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Keep it going. You're awesome.